Election shock. Bloc court challenge threatens another Liberal seat. The political drama unfolding in Quebec has taken yet another twist as the Bloc Québécois moves to contest the results of the federal election in Terrebonne, a riding that has suddenly become the center of national attention. What began as a relatively quiet suburban contest has now spiraled into a heated legal battle that could very well alter the makeup of Parliament. At the heart of this storm is Bloc incumbent Nathalie Sinclair-Desgagné, who, after narrowly losing her seat to the Liberal candidate Tatiana August, has now launched a court challenge alleging serious irregularities in the voting process. This challenge has injected new uncertainty into an already volatile political landscape and threatens to derail the narrative that the Liberals are slowly regaining their footing in Quebec. The result in Terrebonne was razor-thin, with August squeaking out a win by a handful of votes. That in itself was shocking, considering Terrebonne has been considered a Bloc stronghold since 2019, when Sinclair-Desgagné first captured it. For the Bloc, the loss stings not only because it represents a seat slipping into Liberal hands, but also because it undermines their claim to be the true defenders of Quebec's interests in Ottawa. The legal challenge is, therefore, not just about one riding. It is about the Bloc's credibility, their ability to show their voters they are willing to fight until the very end, and their determination not to allow what they see as a federalist encroachment to go unchallenged. Sinclair-Desgagné has alleged that procedural errors, questionable ballots, and failures in the vote-counting process tilted the result unfairly in favor of the Liberals. While the details remain tied up in legal filings, Bloc officials have been blunt in their accusations, suggesting that Elections Canada did not handle the process with the fairness and transparency Quebecers expect. The very fact that this case is going before the courts illustrates the razor-edge tension in Canadian politics right now. At a time when faith in institutions is already under strain, the possibility of a riding being flipped through judicial intervention will only further polarize the debate. For the Liberals, this challenge could not have come at a worse time. Mark Carney's leadership has been dogged by questions of legitimacy, credibility, and a deepening sense that his government lacks the confidence of Canadians. Winning Terrebonne gave the Liberals a symbolic talking point, proof, they argued, that their message was resonating even in traditionally nationalist territory. Now, that fragile victory narrative is at risk of collapsing if the courts overturn the result. It would be a blow not just to Tatiana August, but to the entire Liberal operation, which has been desperate to show momentum in Quebec as the province remains crucial to the path of forming government. Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, while not directly involved in the fight for Terrebonne, are no doubt watching closely. Every seat that slips away from the Liberals, whether through electoral defeat or a legal challenge, strengthens Poilievre's hand in Parliament and bolsters the perception that the Liberal coalition is crumbling. For Conservatives, the chaos among their opponents only adds fuel to their argument that Canada needs stable, competent leadership rather than a government constantly beset by crisis. Though the Tories are less competitive in Terrebonne itself, the optics of Liberal vulnerability in Quebec play directly into Poilievre's national message. What makes this dispute even more politically explosive is the wider context of election controversies across Canada. Already, multiple ridings have faced recounts, with several results either tightened or flipped outright. Voters are increasingly uneasy with the idea that razor-thin margins can reshape the balance of power in Ottawa, and each legal battle feeds a growing cynicism about whether the system truly reflects the will of the people. The Terrebonne fight is therefore more than a local matter. It speaks to the fragility of Canadian democracy under the pressure of polarization, mistrust, and institutional fatigue. For Sinclair-Desgagné, the stakes are deeply personal. Having built her career as a strong Bloc voice in Ottawa, losing by a whisper and then stepping aside without a fight would not only damage her reputation but also risk alienating the nationalist base that sees the Bloc as their only line of defense against federal intrusion. By pursuing the court challenge, she is signaling that she will not let Terrebonne go without exhausting every avenue. This determination plays well with Bloc supporters, many of whom already distrust Ottawa and are inclined to believe that the system is stacked against Quebec. The Liberals, on the other hand, are desperately trying to project confidence. Tatiana August has maintained that the result was fair and that she intends to serve her constituents, regardless of legal maneuvers. Behind the scenes, however, there is no doubt that the Liberal war room is bracing for the possibility of a drawn-out battle that could strip them of a seat they desperately need. With their national numbers languishing and their credibility already under siege, losing Terrebonne after celebrating it as a rare bright spot would be humiliating. Beyond the immediate fight, this court challenge also has broader implications for Quebec's political landscape. The Bloc's strategy has long been to frame themselves as the authentic voice of Quebec, standing firm against both Liberals and Conservatives. If they succeed in overturning the Terrebonne result, they will not only reclaim a seat but also reinforce their narrative of resilience and vigilance. Conversely, if the courts reject their challenge, it may raise difficult questions about whether their time as Quebec's dominant federal voice is waning. Either way, the outcome will reverberate far beyond Terrebonne. As the legal process unfolds, Canadians are left to watch yet another chapter of instability play out. At a time when the country faces deep economic struggles, social division, and foreign policy challenges, the spectacle of election results being dragged through the courts will only deepen public frustration. Yet it also reflects a deeper truth. Canadian politics has entered an era of relentless volatility, where nothing can be taken for granted and every battle, no matter how small, carries the potential to shift the balance of power. The shock of the Terrebonne challenge, therefore, is not just about one riding. It is about the fragility of Canada's political order, the desperation of parties to hold onto every inch of ground, and the growing sense that the system itself is straining under the weight of public mistrust. Whether Nathalie Sinclair-Desgagné ultimately wins or loses her court battle, the very fact that we are here, once again debating whether a seat belongs to one side or the other based on lawyers, judges, and procedural disputes, speaks volumes about the turbulence of this moment in Canadian democracy. And it ensures that for the Liberals, who so desperately needed good news, the celebration in Terrebonne may turn out to have been very short-lived indeed.